Good morning, everyone. Dear student, today we discuss about political executive. In political executive, political and permanent, two types of executive in our country. Dear student, in last lecture, we also discuss about role of parliament in decision making. From the beginning of this chapter, we also noticed and we also studies about Mandal Commission report. Dear student, in the beginning of this chapter, starting phase, office memorandum, government order. And in this concept, we also studies one person also signed on this office memorandum. This signature of this person, notice the personally view. We also aware about different person also involved in this decision making process. And this decision also taken in parliament in both houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And finally, final authority and finally signed by President of India. Then this bill also go again consult department and department also signature and dispatched to be different part of our country in different departments. So we also noticed in starting phase, only single person not take this decision. In last lecture, we also studies about Prime Minister, of course, supreme authority in our country. But we also know about Prime Minister not take decision according his will. Prime Minister also take decision according to majority base. If in Lok Sabha, Prime Minister and his party not in majority, government also dissolve. So Prime Minister take decision according to majority base. And we also know about Prime Minister, of course, as a part of legislature, law making process. But Prime Minister also as a part of executive, as a head of different department. At present, we also aware about presently Prime Minister have different kind of department in his under. So Prime Minister also take decision on in this department also. So in our country, the different level of government, the functionary take the day-to-day decision, but do not exercise supreme power on the behalf of people. These functionary are called to be executive because they are in charge of the execution of the policies of government in our country, in our government, in different levels. We also aware about different decisions also taken by different law also make in parliament. Finally, of course, we also aware about this law also made by in parliament in both houses according to the legislature process. Finally, implementation work in the hand of executive, different department, and they also in charge of different department and they also executive this kind of rule and regulations. In democratic country, first we also know about what happened in democracy according to the executive, political and permanent executive. In a democratic country, two categories make up the executive. One that is be elected by the people for a specified period. We also aware about in our country, we elect our representative. We elect our leaders. And leaders also take decision on the behalf of peoples in parliament, in state assembly also. This type of executive we also called as per political executive. Presently, Prime Minister, Home Minister, Defense Minister, Education Minister, and head of different department. They are also elected by peoples and they are also controlled. They are also head of different department. So this is political executive, political leader. In the second categories, people are appointed on a long-term basis. This is called a permanent executive or civil servant. These executive appointed according to examination pattern. We also aware about present time as per our civil servants. They are also appointed according to UPSC exams. And this executive is the permanent executive. Permanent means they are not changed according to change of government. They are remain their department after change the government. You also take the example of your deputy commissioner in your Panipat. If government also change, deputy commissioner never be changed. Of course, transferable also, transfer to one state to another, one district to another district also. But this the post of this person, your deputy commissioner never be reduced. So he remain in same post. But political executive also change time to time. You also take the example of your Panipat representative last time, MLA Rohita Revdi, present is B, different person. So political leader also change in next election, in every election, time to time also. So this is the difference between political executive and permanent executive. So political executive is B, temporary executive, only for specified time, 5 year, 10 year. And permanent executive is be permanent for a long-term basis according to retirement age. So two types of executive in our country. Distinguish between political executive and permanent executive. Difference in both executive also. Executives who are elected by the people for a specified period is called political executive. इसको हम कुछ टाइम के लिए elect करते हैं political executive को. We also aware about present time in central government. You also noticed many representative non-return again in 2019 election. Many also defeat in Haryana State Assembly election also. You also take the example of Finance Minister in Haryana, Captain Abhimanyu, present time not a political executive, Agriculture Minister, Finance Minister, your Education Minister, not repeat again. So they are elected is a specified time for 5 years. But permanent executive are the salaries with the civil servant who are appointed on a long term according to age base 58 years and 60 years. After 58 and 60 years, they also retire. So they also appointed according to examination pattern for a specified age. Example, political leader like the Prime Minister, Council of Minister. You also take the example of your state assembly also, chief minister, education minister, health minister, and different ministers as example of political leader. And in permanent executive, person working in civil services, example, IAS, IPS, IFS, Indian Foreign Services also. Indian Police Services, your superintendent of police also consider your deputy commissioner is a IAS appointed by according to examination pattern UPSC exams. Again, political executive, they remain in office only so long as they command the confidence of the majority member of the parliament. ये कब तक आपकी political executive रहेंगे, कब तक ऑफिस को कंट्रोल करेंगे, जब तक उनके पास majority है in parliament for central government. If they lose their confidence in parliament, government dissolve. जैसे majority उनकी खत्म हो जाएगा, government भंग हो जाएगा, dissolve हो जाएगा. So they also control their power according to the majority base. But permanent executive, they remain in office even when the ruling party changes, their tenure of the office is fixed. परमानेंट एग्जीक्यूटिव कभी भी गवर्नमेंट के चेंज होने पे चेंज नहीं होते, उनका टेन्योर, उनका टाइम पीरियड इज बी फिक्स्ड अकॉर्डिंग टू रिटायरमेंट एज 58 years or 60 years. Next, they are answerable to people for the consequences of their decision. We are aware about political executive also answerable to peoples because peoples elect their leaders and leader also answerable to their voters, to citizens, because political executive also take different kind of decision. In last phase, we also studies about Mandal Commission. Mandal Commission report also implemented in Parliament according to debate and discussion. And we also aware about start conflict on this report in different part of India, violence between two different communities also, lower and upper caste. So they are answerable for any decisions. Permanent executive, they are not answerable to the peoples. Of course, they are play important role. They are not answerable. They just implement government policies. Next, they are more powerful. They take all the final decision. Political executive is more powerful than to the permanent executive. Of course, we also aware about in our country different department head. For example, you also take the example of present time. At present, defense minister, and we also aware about defense minister not belong to the army, is the ordinary citizen. Defense minister not aware about the different strategy of armies, but army expert also advise him to take the decision on this matter. Same example, you also take the example of another technical department related to be education. We also aware about during the time of 2014 to 19 UPA government at this time, Smriti Irani is the head of education department, and Smriti Irani just 12th pass. And Smriti Irani also make the policies for higher educated peoples in our country, like PhD holders also. So different department also controlled by Smriti Irani. And Smriti Irani not aware about the education pattern in our country. So different permanent executive also advise him to take the decision. So this is the reason political executive is more powerful than to the permanent executive. Lot of example in our country. Head of health department, not a doctor, but he also make policies for health issues in our country. Finance, head of finance department, not a expert in finance activities. He also take the help of different permanent executives. They also advise him this type of policies also you take during the time of your government. So political executive is more powerful than to the permanent. Reason is political executive is be elected by peoples. So they also answerable to citizens any right or wrong policies. So this is the reason political executive is more powerful in decision making process. And permanent executive, they are less powerful. They do not take decision. They just implement. वो decision लेंगे नहीं. Political executive के decisions को implement करेंगे. Instead they assist to political executives in the carrying out day-to-day administration, and they also help to political executive. They help to different head of department in our country in day-to-day life. So this is the reason political executive is more powerful than to the permanent executive. And we also aware about permanent executive is the expert in their field. Even, of course, they're expert, but they are not powerful. They have no right to take any decision. They implement only decisions because decision also taken by political executive, and political executive is the elected representative. And in democracy, elected representative have more power because they are representative of peoples. So remaining part we continue in next lecture.